So, hello everybody. So, let us get started. Today we'll be talking about rational functions. Well, we're not going to get started with an example. We're going to talk about the rules. So, as you can see, it's y equals, well, f of x, but I use y. So, y equals the numerator over the denominator. And the first step to do it is to factor completely the numerator and denominator. And that's really important because it'll help you figure things out much easier. And then exclude the domain which makes any value, the denominator, equal to 0, such as vertical asymptotes and holes. And then you find zeros by making the numerator on top equal to 0. And you'll see that in a moment. And to find the y-intercept, just plug in 0 into the whole equation, whether it's simplified or still the long one, the unfactored way you could say. And to find the horizontal asymptote, just compare the degree of the numerator and denominator. If the numerator on top has a higher degree than the denominator at the bottom, then there is no horizontal asymptote. And then if the numerator on the bottom is greater than the numerator on top, then y is equal to 0. And then if both of the degrees for the numerator and denominator are equal, then y equals, it's going to be a ratio. It's going to be the leading coefficient on the top over the leading coefficient at the bottom. And you will see in a moment how this looks like. And I hope this helps. Let us get started. So hello again. You're probably ready for the rational function. So we're given the rational function of x squared plus 5x plus 6 over x squared plus 11x plus 18. So what can we do? Well, you can notice that x squared plus 5x plus 6 is factorable, and it's factorable by x plus 2 and x plus 3. And then the bottom one, the x squared plus 11x plus 18, it's also factorable, and it's factorable by x plus 2 and x plus 9. And you notice something probably, and what you notice is that there's a hole. These two can be canceled out, and we'll come back to this later. But our simplified solution would be x plus 3 and x plus 9. And this tells us a lot about the rational. So we can get started with all our stuff that we need. So let us get started with the vertical asymptote. So the vertical asymptote, we look at the bottom one, the denominator, the simplified version right here. So our vertical asymptote is x plus 9 cannot be equal to 0. So our vertical asymptote is x cannot be equal to negative 9. So our vertical asymptote is x is at, the vertical asymptote is at x is equal to negative 9. And so our domain, we can exclude one point, and that point is x is equal to negative 9. And I'll come back to this, but since we canceled out x plus 2, we can also say in the domain of this, it's x plus 2, but when we figure it out, when we move equal to 0, we get x is equal to negative 2. So also in our domain is that our domain cannot have x is equal to negative 9 and negative 2. So we're done with two things. We have the vertical asymptote and the domain. So these 2 points cannot be in the domain. And let us get started with the next part, the zeros. So the zeros we can do is basically it's the one focused on top. So x, it's the numerator one. We make it equal to 0. So what do? We move everything to the right. So what we get is x is equal to -3, and this is our 0. And now after this, what we have to do now is we're going to be doing the whole. Now the whole is actually pretty interesting. So the whole, we look at what we canceled out, x plus 2. So our whole is at x plus 2 is equal to 0. Well, cannot be equal to 0. So x cannot equal -2. We can't put it into this original one, but we can put it into the simplified version. And to get the point, we just plug in -2 into this simplified equation. So we get -2 plus 3 over -2 plus 9. And what we get is 1 over 7, 1/7. So our whole is at this point, -2, 1 over 7. And we're done. And now for our y-intercept, what we can do, well, the y-intercept is pretty straightforward. We just plug in 0 into this equation, so into the whole equation. So our y-intercept is 0 plus 3 and 0 plus 9, and what we get is 3 over 9. So our y-intercept is, our y-intercept point is at 0, 3 over 9. Now to get the horizontal asymptote, what we have to look at is that for the horizontal asymptote we look at this, and we can see that x plus 3 and x plus 9 have a degree of 1. So both of what this means for us is that the numerator is equal to the denominator, the degrees. So what do we look at? That's right, we look at the coefficients, and we can see that they're equal. So our horizontal asymptote is at y is equal to 1. And we're done. And I think we should be done right now with everything. And I think we are. So I hope this helps. And it just takes a little bit of practice, but it's pretty straightforward rationals.